Hey everybody, we are taking a little field trip today, and I want to say right out of the gate before we get started that there's going to be a lot of flickering, flashing lights for the next few minutes. Here they come now. We're going to be driving through the trees on the way out to Graves Run today, and as we do, it's a bright sunny day and we're going to get a lot of flickering, flashing lights. So if you are sensitive to that kind of thing, maybe don't watch the first few minutes of this video. But once we get to the stream, we'll be okay. Anyway, the reason we're going out to Graves Run is because I'm going to collect up a bunch of sand and small gravel like I've got in my 40-gallon native tank. This is where I collected up the gravel and the rocks and everything for that tank, so we're going to go ahead and do that again, and we're going to put it in my quarantine tank. I've got 3 tanks that I'm having almost no nitrate accumulation whatsoever, and at this point I'm not sure what's causing the, for lack of a better word, I'll say denitrification at this point. Again, I'm not even sure if denitrification is happening. I don't see how it could be anything but denitrification. The nitrogen cycle's working fine. You know, the ammonia is not there, the nitrite is not there, so I'm not getting a buildup of ammonia or nitrite. It's all being broken down and converted into nitrate. And in theory, the nitrate should be accumulating without doing water changes. There's no mechanism that I know of to remove the nitrate from the tank, except for 3 possible mechanisms that have been suggested. One is the obvious one, the deep sand bed. The one tank I have set up specifically as a deep sand bed. The other tank has a deep sand bed. The other tank kind of doesn't, but I'm still getting the same results. And that's kind of the whole point of this, is all 3 tanks are somewhat different, but they all have similar aspects to them. And so I'm going to try to isolate what is actually the thing that's causing the lack of nitrate accumulation. Is it the deep sand bed? Is it the woodwork? I don't know. I've had everything from the depth of the sand bed to the woodwork, to the fact that the water is flowing over the surface in a highly oxygenated area. I'm not really sure how that one would work. The denitrifying bacteria is an anaerobic bacteria, so it needs little to no oxygen in order to survive. A highly oxygenated environment where the water's flowing over a woodwork, you know, that's got algae growing on it, that's a very highly oxygenated area. So I don't know how denitrification would be happening, you know, in those circumstances, but that's been suggested to me. So I'm not going to explore that necessarily right now, but I have had it suggested that the woodwork itself, as it decomposes in the aquarium, that decomposition process will use up nitrate. And I know it does, but I just don't know if there's enough decomposition in the aquarium to use that much nitrate out of the aquarium. So we're going to do another experiment in a different tank where I take some woodwork and we're going to put it in that tank, and we're going to watch what happens in that tank, but that will be a different video. We'll take the kayak out and we'll go look for some woodwork in that video. We'll have another little sort of outdoor video. Today we are just running right up here to Graves Run, and we're going to collect up a bunch of gravel the same way I did it before. I'm going to set up the tripod so you all get to see my sort of technique, my method of collecting it up. I basically just put a flat bucket, you know, square bucket on the ground, and I just swoosh my hand in front of it where there's a lot of gravel and sand, and it moves the lighter weight stuff sort of into the bucket where it settles down, and the heavier rocks stay out on the, you know, where I left them. Unfortunately, it looks like somebody is fishing right exactly where we were going to go. It's a whole family of people fishing right exactly where we were going to go. So we are going to have to go find some other place to collect up some sand. But fear not, I know plenty of places around here where we can go get some sand and gravel. So anyway, sit tight. I'll see you down by the side of the water somewhere. That's where it was going to be, but now it's going to be somewhere else. So I'll see you in a few minutes. All right, everybody, not my ideal location, but this is actually the place we came and got the rocks that I have in my deep sand bed tank. So somewhere around here is the trail to get down there. Oh, I'm practically parked on top of it. It's right here. So somewhere down here on this particular little patch of stream, we should easily be able to find an area where there's some nice, easy to access sand. That looks like a nice big pile of it right there. We'll start with that. Certainly not a bad place to stop and have a look around. So, all right, let me, oh, that's some other good sand over there too. So let me set you down over here. And that should do it. So that's what we got. Got some larger stuff in it, but I can always sort of sift through it with my fingers. And by larger stuff, I'm talking about rocks that size. So that's a pretty good amount right there. That'll probably be enough for a little 10-gallon tank. So I want to get some sandier stuff. That's more gravelly, but there's a lot of stuff over here that's more silty and sandy. So let's try to get some of this. It's a little better. I'm just going to add that to what I've already got. That's what we're actually going to be taking home today, and that will be more than enough. So we'll definitely get rid of bigger stuff like this. This will be more than enough for a 10-gallon tank to get a deep sand bed. I guess it wouldn't hurt to take a little more, you never know. There's some really sandy stuff over here. It's hard to find a spot for the tripod on the stream bed here. That's more like it. That's more like sand. So I will mix that in at the bottom. And then I'll put the other stuff in with it and it'll all sort itself out. It'll stratify or do whatever it's going to do over time. But there you go. So alright everybody, let me get this in the bucket. I don't want to pour out and rinse out too much of that dirty water, because as much as that looks like dirt and filth, that's actually fine sand and silt, and there's probably all kind of good stuff in that. So when we get home, I'm not going to rinse this at all. This is going to go straight into the tank right out of this bucket as is. So let's get started on that. All right everybody, we are back at the yard. And this is what we have brought home. We've got about a half a bucket, which is going to be plenty for our needs. But it's still got some larger stuff in there than I really want, as is usually the case. Not too bad, but there are some slightly larger rocks in there. We're going to try to get some of this bigger stuff out. Fortunately, I have a soil sieve for our compost and whatnot. So we're going to go ahead and dump that into this bucket, put that back on there, and then we'll sieve this, soil and everything, the sand and everything back through there and get it down to something a little more fine than what we've got. So no point in videoing that process. I'm sure you all understand how to sieve the sand down. So give me a few minutes and I will see you down at the tank. All right, so here we are the following day, and I'm still not completely satisfied with how much we've got in there. I added a little bit of very fine play sand, and that bulked it up a little bit, but we still don't really have what I would think of as a very deep bed. It's about 3 inches on average. I'd like to have it at least 4 to 5 inches, believe it or not. So I probably am going to go out and get some more gravel and put it in here. In the meantime, what I've done is I've laid some big flat rocks across the bottom, and that will reduce the amount of water circulation and flow as it moves through the gravel. But I think we're just going to go get more gravel anyway, and then that way I'm not going to have to worry about it. I did wind up taking the sponge filter out of there. For one, it was actually sitting up on top of the gravel, was too tall. I couldn't put the lid back on the tank, or I couldn't put the top back on the tank. And I want to add even more gravel, so we definitely could not have the sponge filter in there. I also want to set the tank up without the sponge filter because I want to operate this tank with a hang on the back, because that's kind of part of the idea of seeing how this whole thing works. So it's a real basic, simple setup. Just, you know, simple lid on the top. We got the simple hang on the back and the back, and that is it. We are going to talk a little bit about the cycle and what's going on with the filter. Right now I'm keeping the cycle going using some ammonium chloride to keep a source of ammonia in there. We're going to think about what we're going to do moving forward as far as adding fish and so on and so forth. But we're almost there. That's going to be it for this video. I don't want to, drag it out. We're going to basically just go do the same thing we just did. Once again, I'm going to get another bucket of gravel. We're going to come back and top this tank off. So make sure you're subscribed and you won't miss any of those videos or anything else I got coming up. It'll be interesting to see how this pans out, whether or not it really does turn into denitrifying deep sand bed or not. So if you're subscribed, you won't miss that or anything else I've got coming up. You never know what it's going to be with me. So thanks for watching this one. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you real soon in the next one.